I've been waiting for you.
Hello everyone, it's BYG Agami back with another video. Today I have a question for you guys, and of course I'm going to give my thoughts on this question. And it's, when did Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, or any dub that was created by 4Kids/4K Media, get good for you? When did you enjoy it? Was it the first episode? Was it a few episodes after? Because I want to hear you guys' story, and I actually want to hear how you got into Yu-Gi-Oh! As well. And I'm going to be doing a part 2 of this topic for the sub version as well, because I would say a good portion of us watch the dub and then we get into the sub. That's sort of my story, but I'll talk about it in that video. And there's an additional question to this. Well, it's the same question, but it can be taken in another perspective. And that's, when did the dub get bad for you? When did you sort of convert to the sub side and hate what 4K Media did or 4Kids did? Because I would imagine a good portion of you guys are those type of fans. And there's nothing wrong with that, of course. At the end of the day, it's whatever you prefer of Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's what makes us so great. And personally, I'm going to give my thoughts on it before I dive into the question. I know it's kind of off topic, but I feel like it's good to address in a video like this. So personally, how I think of Yu-Gi-Oh!, how I think of its dubs, its canosity, is that there are two products, right? You got the English dub, 4Kids, 4K Media, Funimation. Well, Funimation didn't do Yu-Gi-Oh! They did a, like a teaming up with 4Kids, and they did a uncut dub, which of course later on went into lawsuits and sort of made the downfall for 4Kids, and then created 4K Media. But I look at that version, the dub, and of course they did a huge amount of censorship, huge amount of dub changes, and personally I'm fine with that. I don't care, because I look at it like this: English dub, I look at it as one canosity. The Japanese, the original, I look at it as another canosity. Now, there's no better canosity because it's all a subjective topic, but I'm the type of Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan where I don't care. Like, I really don't care about the dub changes. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I've seen some moments where I'm just like, oh, why do they have to do that? And one particular scene is during Battle City. When I watched it subbed, I was like, oh my lord, this scene would have been so beautiful if Eric Stewart, my bad, not Eric Stewart, but if Wayne Grayson and Greg Abbey just did it. And that's that scene where Junochi, and I'm gonna say the Japanese name because this follows the sub version. I'm also that type of fan where we're talking about the sub version, I'm gonna say the original names. When we're talking about the dub, I'm gonna say the dub names. But in the original version, where Junochi gets punched by Honda because he lost his red eyes, and he didn't go to the hospital for Shizuka, or Serenity, his sister. So yeah, I look at it in two versions, and I think that's the best way in my opinion, because there's a lot of fans that sort of hate on the dub, sort of shit talk it, and then there's a lot of fans that go the other way where they shit talk the dub. I think all that shit talking comes back to being arrogant and not respectful of what other people think of the dub. Now, of course, you can express your feelings on the version, but at the same time, you got to do it in more of a polite manner, at least in my opinion. Now, to be quite honest, when I'm on Discord and some other stuff, I will shit talk a little bit, but that's just me joking. At the end of the day, you just got to be respectful of other people's opinions. And I also think that when you talk about sub versus dub, that comparing them is a good thing. I think comparing them is a good thing, because there are some things the dub did and some things the sub did better. And I can name a few scenes off the top of the head, but of course I'm going to do that on a later video. And also, one more thing I do want to bring up, I'm sorry I'm going on for this long, but I think it's important. I really do think it's important, is that some people have got to understand when talking about the dub and the whole censorship and how the changes are, you got to sort of understand that, of course, when you're a child, you really don't care about shit like this, and that's when you grow up and you sort of get a grasp of what the changes were. It's got to be friendly based. And the fact is that the dub changes and the censorship, 4Kids was probably thinking it's ideal and good. Now, unless you're a millionaire, or unless you own or manage a big company, then you have the right to talk about this. Then you know what you're talking about. But for the average person like me that owns a little small YouTube channel and does a little Twitter and Facebook fan page, I can't talk about it. Neither can a good portion of you guys. And that's simply because we've never owned or never controlled or guided $1 million business. Because 4K Media, 4Kids is $1 million business. That's facts. At least during the time they were producing Duel Monsters, they were probably $1 million business. And that's a lot of stress, guys. A lot of damn stress. What they were thinking was probably ideal, because no company wants to lose money. That's just facts. No company wants to lose money. So whatever they were thinking of is probably good, and then you got the hardcore sub fans sort of ripping this shit apart. But the fact is that this show is intended for children, alright? This show is intended for children. 6 to 7 year olds. 6 to 7 year olds, they don't care about shit like this. They just care about cool cards. But yeah, getting back onto the topic, and I'm sorry for this banner, but I felt like it was needed to be addressed in this type of video. And it's, when did I get into the Yu-Gi-Oh! Dub seriously? And that was, I would say, 2 to 3 years ago. And that was during the summer where I just binged watched Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, and I fell in love with it. Just fell in love with it, and that's why Duel Monsters is my favorite series, just because it's the first I've watched, and I think it's also the best in terms of characters. So I'm a huge fan of Duel Monsters. But when did I start getting fond of the dub? And really, when I'm watching the show, I never really cared about how the dub was and how it was projected. Now, the only time I actually cared is when they switched to Mai's voice. Because you look at Mai's English voice, the first one, well, I'm just like, wow, that's easily one of the top 3 best voices in Duel Monsters. Easily, in my opinion. But yeah, getting back on topic is that I started to get fond when I sort of like got more into the series and analyzed it, because when I'm binge watching, I really don't analyze shit. I just watch it because I need something to sort of keep me interested and entertain me until something does come up. So yeah, that was it. And then it wasn't until Dark Side Dimensions, and that's when the Dark Side Dimensions trailer came out. And of course, we didn't hear any voices, but I started to analyze more, and I did YouTube, and that's what really started to make me appreciate the dub, and of course the subbed as well. But talking about when did I start to bad feelings about it, now I don't hate the dub, and I can understand why people think it's bad, but you can see that there's a clear change in how Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters was sort of projected. And you look at Duelist Kingdom. Duelist Kingdom is my favorite arc in the dub. The sub version is definitely Battle City. But the dub is my favorite arc because of nostalgia, as well as like the voices. Like, I love Dan Green's rendition of a Tim. Once Duelist Kingdom's up, you can see how different his voice it is. It's screaming 24/7. It wasn't screaming prior to that. I guarantee it was something behind the scenes, or probably the voice director, whoever was voice directing them, telling them to scream a little bit more, forcing them. Because the fact is, I guarantee you no one wants to scream for 8 hours in a booth. Like Sean Schemmel, for example, he screams so much, and when he's doing interviews or when he's doing Comic-Cons and there's Q&A sessions or Q&A booths, you can see his voice is faded away from all that screaming. So that's, of course, one reason why no one would want to scream 24/7. And then the change of plot increased drastically. Like Merrick. Merrick's motivations are completely altered. And I can go more in, of course, but you can see between Duelist Kingdom and the Battle City there was a huge change. And you can see that Tim's voice was changed drastically, as well as it was sort of changed in plot. Like 4Kids started to add their taste on it more and more and more, which I personally don't mind at all, but I would really prefer how they kept it at Duelist Kingdom. I want to know when you guys liked the dub version and appreciated it, or when you guys hated the dub version, because it's quite interesting. I know the basic story, at least for the thinking of the dub is bad, is when you guys figure out that there's a manga for Yu-Gi-Oh, or actually when you guys read the manga or watch the sub version. And you guys can watch the sub version for free on Crunchyroll.com. I'll link that down below as well. Also, before I head off, keep the comment section civilized. I don't want any sub versus dub hate whatsoever. I just think that's a waste of time. So that's the video for today. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day as always.